entrepreneurship in the beauty business or the cosmetic industry enables diversity and inclusion because it provides the opportunities to people from different backgrounds to come in the forefront and put out their thoughts and their ideas to the forefront. By sharing their entrepreneurial journeys with us today, our panelists will not only sort of share how their initiatives have built their businesses and their career paths, but they'll also sort of shed some light on how their businesses have had a broader impact on the cosmetic industry, or how they have been able to add that extra zing to the cosmetic industry through their products and their ventures. So, without much delay, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for the evening, Mr. Jaideep Khurana. Jaideep is the founder at two successful cosmetic companies. One is Water Skincare and one is True Mount Cosmeceuticals. Now, a little bit about Jaideep. Jaideep started his journey in sort of an interesting way because he had a successful family pharma business, which he left to pursue his passion in skincare cosmetics. He was curious about new skincare techniques, focusing on botanical molecular methods, which were very cutting edge in 2008 in Japan and were originally used for testing cosmetic ingredients in Japan. He founded True Mount Cosmeceuticals in collaboration with certain A class laboratories in Tokyo to discover and study chemical component in natural ingredients such as seeds, lotus seeds, chocolate, turmeric, etc. Jaideep believed in creating safe skincare products that actually work, leading to the creation of his other venture, which is Water Skincare. An interesting fact about Jaideep, unlike most of us, he really looks forward to Mondays and he gets bored uh, uh, by Sunday afternoon. So yeah, this was a resume version of your introduction, Jaideep. So over to you. Please do tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
I guess you've covered a lot in a small frame of time. So basically, a little bit of correction here. We started the venture in the year 2003, and where the idea at that point in time was to come up with a skincare brand. Considering the market survey we guys did. So the idea was, 6 months have your products distributed through distributors, and there you go, you're in the market. Whereas when we started working on the product line, we realized that, where today people are talking about sustainability and all, way back in 2003, we took a conscious call saying that, whatever we need to create, it's something which should live over the years, right? So that's where the whole idea of tying up the labs came into the picture, and we guys landed up doing research for almost 10 years. So 6 months to 10 years is a huge shift mentally, if you ask me, because we actually conducted exercise without having a product, and where we were meeting the dermats and the salons, asking them about the skincare products and the brands they are using, what are the expectations out of it. Then formulating products, because I think formulation is like the heart of the product. It's one of the most important parameters. And besides the formulation, understanding the ingredients, the quality of those ingredients, and the best combination. So this entire exercise took almost 10 years. So where during this process, we tied up with two labs. One is in France and the other one is in Tokyo. Like I mentioned the other day, every country has something to offer, right? Like if you talk about saffron, we will think about Kashmir, right? Besides Spain. So similarly, there are like Tokyo has always been very advanced when it came to skincare. It produces one of the best hyaluronic acid or vitamin C's as well globally. In fact, there are principal base in Europe who buy it from Japan, and they rebrand it and they sell it saying it's produced in Europe. So we spend these 10 years in understanding what country produces the best of the ingredients and the molecules. And the idea was to make sure that the molecule too comes from a natural source, so that we can call ourselves botanical and environmental friendly. So that's what we guys did. We spent 10 years in doing our research, during which we formulated our products, and also we did clinical trials. So the clinical trial was a very tedious exercise. We would go back, to a principle saying that what are the best formulations and what are the best permutations and combinations working. So we actually then rolled out the product, and that's where we are. So our first platform that we chose was the e-commerce, rather than getting into the typical distribution or the brick and mortar, because 10 years of research, we could get a platform like an e-commerce where we could go and talk about it. So we have always been conscious about being cruelty-free, being vegan, to the extent certain range of our products is so natural that you can eat it. That's how natural it is. But yet it comes with a shelf life of 30 months because every single ingredient that's been incorporated, we make sure it's microbiologically processed, where the shelf life gets enhanced for 30 months. It's not that, see, what happens with natural ingredients is it's very difficult to set the parameters for a natural ingredient. Like I normally give an example of a rose flower. You pluck it, you put it in a book, and it'll take 6 months and it'll become like a papa, right? Whereas now imagine a technology where we process we microbiologically process it, and it takes the flower 30 months to become what it normally becomes in 6 months. So that's where our strength is. That's what we guys did. So we have a team of dermatologists, Ayurvedic doctors, cosmetic engineers, and I myself a dropped out engineer. So I had no other option but to go back and study for 10 years. And then this is what we guys have made. And we are proud of it because it's something which is 100% botanical. Like I mentioned, certain range of products you can eat it. That's how natural it is. And so far, it's really been interesting. And where the clients have used the products and our growth has been 100% organic. So in short, yes, this is what we guys are. Going forward, yes, we are looking at international markets. We've always been very focused on not just India, but the global market because we didn't want to limit ourselves within a certain domain. And we are already present in Africa. We are now focusing on the GCC countries. We are there in Australia, we're there in Singapore. In fact, when we were doing our clinical trials, we had tied up with Ayurveda College in Barcelona at that point in time. And we conducted clinical trials on the European skin as well. So small steps in one direction, I feel, is the way to win a marathon. So that's where we guys are.
Thanks for that, Jaydeep. Of course, we'll talk a lot more about your journey. But now I'd like to introduce our second speaker for the evening, Ms. Sarika Panchi. Sarika is the founder and CEO at Jivisa Wellness. She's the co-creator at the Coffee Beans and the curator at Cover to Cover. Sanchi holds management degrees from prestigious institutes like Narsi Monji and the Indian School of Business. Before venturing into entrepreneurship, Sanchi was also associated with certain really well-known organizations such as Kingfisher Airlines and IBM. So she's actually gained experience in different industries before she made a mark in the cosmetic industry. Her venture Jivisa is dedicated to soothing our body, mind, and senses with natural, responsibly sourced premium products. Cover to Cover is her platform for sharing experiences and knowledge through books, acting as a medium for learning and growth. And Sarika's Coffee Beans retreats and coaching practice allows her to sort of connect with other people and assess them and them discovering their inner selves. So it's like a harmonious blend of all these endeavors, and she finds her happiness and peace and is able to achieve this sweet spot of equilibrium through all these different mediums. So over to you, Sarika. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, your different ventures, and your journey so far.
Thank you, Shruta. Thank you for having me here. And I think you've covered most of it, but yes, I did do about 20 years of corporate before I took the jump and became an entrepreneur 8 years back. And that's when I moved from Bombay to Dehradun, which is now it was my hometown, so this is more a homecoming. When I came initially, I joined my brother Vineet Panchi. A lot of people know him. He's a poet and an influencer. And that was a very different part of business. But then I realized that I needed to do something of my own. And that's how Jivisa came into being. Jivisa is a holistic wellness brand. I believe in holistic wellness. I do believe that wellness is not unidimensional. It's not that one cup of tea, one set of yoga. It's a lot of things put together, culminating into how you feel, how you behave, etc. So the conversations that you have, the people that you meet, what you're reading, what you're putting inside your body, what you're putting on your body, etc., etc. And that's what we are trying to now bring out in Jivisa. In fact, the other two ventures that you mentioned also for me are an extension of wellness. So, the book reviews that I used to do or the retreats that I continue to do are both part of, for me, wellness, because that's the emotional wellness piece, and this is the products are the physical wellness piece. Within the wellness brand that we are trying to create, we started about 3.5 years back. And one thing led to another. COVID was just ending, and we were deliberating on what to do. How do we diversify? What's the need of the hour? And do we need to look inside? That's how Jivisa came into being. Our first product was a kara, which now gets served on Vistara's business class. And then one thing led to another. Then we launched our range of teas, then aroma, and then personal care. And that's why I think we are here today. So the personal care range came into being about 2 years back. Because when we started looking at wellness, we also realized that what you're putting on your body also adds to finally your well-being. So, from your skin care to your personal care, बालों में क्या लग रहा है, face पे क्या लग रहा है, all of that finally culminates in how you feel, gives you a sense of well-being. So that's been our, Jivisa journey. We've very successfully now started entering hospitality. So we are doing some tie-ups with big wellness spas across India. We are talking to very, very big brands for that. And most people today do say that we want all natural, we want sustainable, we want it sourced, the right way. We want to make sure that you are also giving back to the society. So what are you doing for a cause? And all of those things are what we are trying to tie into Jivisa today. So that's been our journey, and I hope to kind of build it further, take it to more people, across boundaries. We are already in India on e-commerce, so we do a lot of our work through Amazon.in. We are now working on .com and .uk, trying to enter some other markets through that, and hope to continue to grow it one step at a time.
Very interesting. Thanks for that, Sarika. Thanks for sharing your journey briefly. Of course, we'll talk a lot more with you. But I'd like to introduce our last speaker for the evening, Miss Shivi Rastogi. Shivi is the founder at the Skin Kitchen, and she holds a master's degree in biotechnology, a diploma in organic skincare formulation, and an advanced diploma in cosmetic science. So Shivi's journey began out of a love for, I think, natural skincare and a desire to understand the science behind it. So she was sort of frustrated by the lack of 100% natural products that met high standards of effectiveness and quality and the purity, which is why she founded the Skin Kitchen. Her motivation was to create products that she and others like her could trust, avoiding any greenwashing and settling for nothing less than excellence. She finds joy in crafting skincare products that not only enhance beauty on the outside but also prioritize health and overall quality of life. So, an interesting fact about Shivi is that she truly believes that nothing is impossible. So, if there's a problem, she'll go after it until she finds a solution to it. So, over to you, Shivi. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and the Skin Kitchen and how you sort of incepted the idea and came into this business.
So I think you stated it very nicely and very beautifully. So the intent was to, create something that is not greenwash. There's no white labeling because, we have plethora of products, but the fact is, it's very easy to, get your product manufactured, slap your label on it and, put it on the market. But what is, as Jaideep also focused that, it's the ingredients that are, the game changer. No matter how fancy your packaging is, no matter, how great you're marketing your product or the visibility that you're getting, but it's what's inside that makes a difference. And because, having a background in science, I was trying to navigate myself through, whatever was available in the market. And I was slightly, taken aback that, we were putting a lot of things into the skincare which are not required, but are just there to, enhance the maybe, the texture of the product, make it, the shelf life of the product, which is also very important. There are other alternatives also which are eco-certain, Cosmos approved, that you can actually use in organic skincare. They may not have a shelf life of time, but they will do the job for the right amount of time. So, and also I don't really advocate hoarding, and I advocate holistic approach to skincare instead of, pushing your skin and punishing it and, beating it to submission, trying to, and with so many, actives and every world is talking about, do this, do that, there are 15 different serums and everything you're putting on yourself, like, add.
Shivi, we're losing you. I think your screen is frozen. Okay.
I like her expression though.
Yeah, that's true. So, just one sec. Okay, I think she'll rejoin. Meanwhile, a few questions to both of you because you both have very different backgrounds, and Shivi also comes from a science background. And I was having a discussion with another set of panelists the other day. I want to understand, Jaydeep, from you, how important do you think is it to have a scientific background or to really understand what the formulations are about, as opposed to Sarika, who probably doesn't have that background, right? Is it really important because you have had a very scientific journey? So, do you think it has helped you? Do you think it's really important for an entrepreneur to have that skill set?
See, I feel if you're passionate about what you're getting into, uh, you will always go and try yourself getting educated about it, right? Like, like I said, that I was a dropped out engineer. I never thought that I would be doing engineering. But when I started the skincare brand, uh, where my team wanted to launch it in 6 months, I was the one to refuse it, saying, you know what, I'm not ready with it, right? And it doesn't take much to manufacture a product and put it in the market, create a content around it, and you can start selling it. So one way to look at it is manufacturing is not the skill, it's how you market it. But it's about your passion as well. If you're passionate about it, I mean, there's no limit to it. You'll keep digging it. You'll keep going deep into it to understand how it is. Like in my case, I would say that the more I get involved, the more interesting I find it. So we have a philosophy in the company saying that none of our products is going to be there for more than 5 years. Every 5 years, we're going to revise, rework on the formulations, and we are going to make sure that we are incorporating what is the latest in terms of technology. We spend enough time in understanding those ingredients. So we have a separate arm which is like a research and development, where we are continuously developing new products, and we are continuously reworking on our existing formulations as well. Because see, technology in the health and beauty industry it's very innovative. It's very innovative. I mean, it can put even the electronics industry to shame. Every few months there's a new molecule coming in. It's coming with so many documents. And then our work is little difficult. Why? Because then we are looking at molecules which are sourced naturally, right? And then we have certifications by certain agencies where even the soil quality of the ingredient that we are using, we need to take the manufacturer's certificate. For example, when we are using a licorice or a turmeric, right? A turmeric which we procure from Andhra Pradesh in India, we actually ask the farmers, please share us a certificate that there are no pesticides which are being used for the cultivation of the crop. Then the crop further goes for processing, where the turmeric extract is from the powder, it's converted into a liquid form. And from liquid, again, you have your own. So I think if you're passionate about it, uh, if you're looking at building business, not just numbers, you will definitely go and say, you know what, I want to know more about it. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's something that you wanted to speak for itself. So that's how I look at it. Uh, Everybody has a different perspective. There are brands in the market where they are very sales oriented. They have certain goals for whatever reason. So everybody is right in their own space. So I feel if you're passionate, you'll definitely know what you're getting into, and there's enough information available. It's just a click away. I mean, so way back in 2003, you had to dig and meet the doctors and sit in the clinics to see what are they giving for acne and pigmentation. And then you go sit with the Ayurvedic doctors and see what are they giving, all the Ayurvedic medicines. And then see what is happening in the Western world.
Yeah. No,
So
very well said. If
yeah,
you're passionate about something, it really shouldn't matter.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. What about you, Sarika? Do you think having that sort of background gives an entrepreneur an advantage in any way?
So I completely agree with Jaydeep. I'm not a science background person, Shruhita. I am here because of my passion. And like I said, we are creating this brand because of our belief that holistic wellness, is the way to go. But yes, it is extremely important to know what's going inside your body and what's being put on your body. So if I don't know that, somebody in the team needs to know that. Likewise, we have a person who dedicatedly only does research to understand what compositions are being brought out in the market, what are the ingredients that we are going after, what do we agree with, what do we not agree with, is it even aligned to the philosophy that we are talking about. For example, we are very, very clear that our brand promise, by the way, is that anything I cannot give to my parents or my children will not be brought out in the market ever, no matter how big a market there is. So there are some basic rules that you set for the products that you're trying to bring out, and there's a lot of research needed, whether you do it or somebody in the team does it, but somebody in the core team needs to do it, because finally it is our brand being put, the name being put, and if tomorrow you use it and come back and say this is, this was the after effect of the product that I used, then that's my brand credibility at stake. So I don't think it restricts me from bringing a great product out in the market. Uh, I mean, as far as I understand the philosophy behind the ingredients we are using, what herbs are we trying to put, what herbs are we trying to completely avoid. As far as that is there, and that, by the way, if you're passionate, you can go and understand. I think you're good. You just need to know that you're doing the right thing.
No, really interesting because I was having a conversation, like I said, with some other speakers, and they were like, "No, there's so many people out there who not there's so many people who claim to be homegrown brands and they don't have the knowledge or the expertise." So I just wanted your view, sort of, on that. Another thing that I'd like to really understand from the both of you is how do you view the evolution in the cosmetic industry in India in the past 20
Sorry,
years?
guys, my internet just acted out.
No problem. Welcome back, Shivi. Just 1 second.
So sorry.
That's okay.
So, Jaydeep, would you like to start first on this? Because I think you've had a longer run in the industry. I'm rather newbie. I'm very happy to share what I've
Yeah.
seen as a consumer in the last 20 years and as a founder in the last 3.5 years. But I think maybe
Yeah.
Jaydeep would be the right person
Yeah.
to start.
So my question really,
yeah, go on. Sorry,
sorry, that's okay.
sorry.
Yeah, I think you got my question, but it really was about like the evolution because 20 years from now, there were like probably handful of brands. Uh, Probably when L'Oreal came into business, I would say in early 2000, it sort of changed the entire dynamic of the cosmetic industry. It's become so scientific and formulations and everything. I still remember when I was younger, there was just like Fair and Lovely and Pond's Cold Cream. Okay. So from there to where we are today, there are so many market players, and each market player has something unique to offer. So there has been like a massive, massive evolution in this industry. So like, of course, Jaideep, you've been me, of course, we have been consumers, but you've been in the industry since, like you said, 2003, which is almost 2 decades. So would love to hear from you about this.
See, I always say this, that the evolution started the year, we had the Sushmita Sen's and the Aishwarya Rais becoming the Miss World and the Miss Universe. And it's important to realize that we suddenly had 2, 3 winners from a country. And that was a beginning because the international brands had recognized India as the emerging market. And that's where the L'Oreals of the world, they started investing here in India. So that's when it started. But I think past six years, there's been a drastic shift. There's been a drastic shift. And going forward, I think India is today, our country is growing. The beauty industry in India is growing faster than the GDP. So the numbers are huge. The global market is growing, but I think we are going faster than the global market trend, if you ask me. Today we have close to 600 brands in the last, I think, 6 years or 4 years, which have come up. Somehow most of them have been able to establish themselves and they have this blue ocean strategy where they today with the help of artificial intelligence and having a direct platforms of their own websites, they can reach the consumers, talk about the experience, and retarget them on purchasing the products. And then after the sales, they, there are other sales services which are being given, the loyalty points or whatever. So yes, it's a huge shift. And going forward, I think a couple of parameters which are going to be very important for the success. One is it's not just about launching. It's not just about uh, reading what's trending and trying to find that space. I think the success in the skincare lies in the repurchasing. That's where the quality plays a very important role. See, skincare, I'll talk about skincare, not barring the cosmetic industry, because it's the only industry where the loyalty can go on for generations. Like you mentioned, Fair and Lovely, Ponds. You see a concept like a Vico turmeric. It's just a plain haldi ka cream, right? It's $1 billion brand today. And the campaign is the granddaughter and the grandmother. And the grandmother is passing on her beauty secret to her granddaughter. So imagine how the loyalty from. So if someone likes, if you like a moisturizer, if you like a certain night cream, I'm sure you won't have one. You'll have two, one in your bag and one right next to your bedside, right? That's the way it works. So I think the success eventually is going to be, are you adding value to the consumer? You might be talking about the niacinamides and the vitamin C's, which are trending nowadays. But how well do you understand and how well are you using it in terms of the combinations with the other ingredients? You don't have to go 10%. Trust me, it's not required. I mean, it comes at a certain grade. You don't have to go as high as 10%. But do you understand that? So I think consumer is the one who's going to decide. And consumer has always been the voice, if you ask me. So I think sustainability, product formulations, repurchasing, and giving back to the society, which I feel is going to be very important, because when you talk about biodiversity, when you talk about sustainability, you are obviously giving back to the environment. So I think these are the parameters which are going to be important going forward. And yes, the industry is changed, and the transparency, it's more transparent now. What we need is the government agencies, the compliance systems also to make sure that they are in trend and they are as equipped as the industry is today, so that the process can be made faster and quicker. So I think that is what is required. Otherwise, it's a huge ocean. I mean, and we are on the right we're on the right time, on the right time.
Very well said, Jaydeep. And I think what was really interesting is how we spoke about repurchasing, because I was hearing one of the podcasts about a brand. I'm not going to name the brand, but it spoke about how the success was about completely like it. The core of the success was marketing. The more they marketed, the more people would purchase. But how many people are actually repurchasing? If you have advertising, you come up with a fancy campaign, people will get attracted and probably purchase the brand by getting influenced. But the true success really lies in the amount of repurchasing or customer loyalty eventually. Like you said, very, very nicely said that Vico Turmeric is $1 million brand today, and it's a simple haldi cream, but its repurchase value is so magnificent that it has sustained over these years with so much of competition. So,
See, what's
yes.
happening today is the conscious decision that as a brand owner we need to take is, what is it that we are looking at doing? Are we looking at building a business, or are we looking at building a valuation? That's very important. If we are looking at building valuation, all we need to do is take money and spend in advertising. If we are looking at building business, we need to follow our dreams. If the product is good, it will sell. Trust me, you just need to go out there and talk about it. Let people try it once. They'll come back and they'll buy it again.
Yeah, very well said. Over to you, Sarika. You also had some insights on this topic.
Yeah, I think so. Your question was, how has the industry changed in the last 2 decades? I think there are 3 or 4 major changes that I see, and I think it'll continue to happen. One, it is not just the beauty industry, but I would say the entire grooming industry, which has really taken up, pan India. The health, wellness, and grooming industry. If you look at the numbers year on year, the way it is growing is, amazing. and not just for women, but for men equally. Gone are the days that men would apply a women's cream or any product to say that I need to kind of cover it up, or do it in the hiding. They're very openly coming out. So the entire health, wellness, and grooming industry is growing, and it will continue to grow. That's the one big change that I see, and fairly so, because people are getting health conscious, and grooming kind of becomes part of that. The other, I think, that happened, like Jaideep mentioned, 2 decades back when the open markets started, rather 3 decades back. To now, the big shift is that there was this huge, people were just, not, they didn't know how to accept the global brands. And there was this craze about the global brands, which is now shifting to more Indian brands. A lot of people have started appreciating our Indian wisdom, whether it is Ayurveda inspired or our traditions inspired, and have started to go back to our roots. And everything that we are doing around that space is really, the wave is right now around that. At least in the last 8 to 10 years, that has started to happen. There are fantastic subsidies that the government is giving. There are fantastic campaigns being run. There is this entire buoyancy that I see in the market today, which was not there maybe 2 decades back. And that, I think, will continue to grow. I don't see that going away very, very quickly. The third big shift that I see is from the consumer side. I think they are way more aware. They are way more demanding. Like Jaideep said, you have to be more clear about what you're doing. Your packaging has to categorically say, where are we sourcing from? What is our composition? You cannot fool them anymore. From somebody as young as my son, who's 18-year-old, to my co-founder, my colleagues, the youngsters, people who are my age, they have started looking at the label very, very carefully. So gone are the days that you could just sell anything to anybody. I'm sure a lot of people are still doing that, but I don't think it's a very long shot. Chances are that sooner or later it will come back and bite you. So I think from a consumer perspective, from a market perspective, and from the products perspective, there are these huge changes happening. And if you manage to understand this and crack all of these things right, then you're on the right path. But clearly very, very different than what we used to see 20 years back. You'll see it in the advertising, you'll see it in the narrative of brands. People are looking at brands that are attached to a cause. People are looking at brands that are more authentic. They want to know where the raw material is being sourced from. Do you have a geotagging? ये सब कुछ पहले नहीं होता था. So, we are clearly looking at a very, very aware, very mature market, and only growing. I think we've just started. This maturity will continue to happen on all fronts.
Yeah, very nicely put, Sarika. Consumers are, of course, much, much more aware these days.
Yeah.
We'll discuss about that also later. But Shivi is back. So, Shivi, you were mentioning about what inspired you to start the Skin Kitchen. If you can just complete that, and also talk about your view on the evolution in the cosmetic industry within the last 20 years, and what is your sort of trick or mantra to make a place for yourself? Like we mentioned, right? There's so many products out there. So how are you differentiating yourself and your brand?
So I would like to talk about the first thing is that 20 years back, products which were formulated, they still had some authenticity to them. Like you gave an example of Pond's. Pond's still had oil, or it had wheat germ oil, or it had but now it's totally like based on paraffin, and that's a petroleum derivative. And as we know, petroleum is not going anywhere. That is just sitting on top of your skin, giving you a temporary layer of protection. So that's why I think all these people are, as Sarika said, that people are trusting indie brands because they think that the smaller business will put in more authentic ingredients, put in more like not just, I would say, locally sourced, but globally sourced ingredients. Yes, there is a lot of greenwashing, there is a lot of white labeling, but at the same time, as Jaideep also pointed out, Jaideep, I also pointed out that if your product is good and if you have people coming back for your product, I think your job is done. Your job is to create a product. If it is, and as he said, just have to talk about the product. If you think people are ready to experiment, people are ready to take that chance, but if your product is doing the job that it is supposed to do, you do not have to have a very complicated skincare routine. You can have a minimal skincare routine and have the best of skins. We live in a tropical climate. We anyways are subjecting our skin to much. There's pollution. It was not there 20 years back. The UV rays, they were not so damaging 20 years back. But now things are changing because, we live in a different world. So our products need to be simpler. We do not need to complicate skincare. We need to maybe uncomplicate it and go back to the basics. And as Sarika also pointed out, that the customer awareness, I see 20-year-olds who coming up, what is inside the product? They want to read the labels, irrespective of their backgrounds. People are very curious to know what is inside the product, what they're putting on their skin. So I think that is playing a huge role. And they are ready to, dish the foreign brands because, when buy a foreign product, you're not just buying it for the ingredients. You're paying hefty import duties. You're paying, those custom taxes and everything. So that is why that cream is for maybe 5 grand or 6 grand. The inside is not that expensive. The ingredients are not that expensive. It's what you're paying to get this here. So I think that's when the trends, and after post-COVID, the scenario has completely changed because a lot of people are looking towards a holistic approach of skincare, and not just skincare, wellness as a whole. We see so many people having turmeric lattes. We've always had haldi ka doodh. But now, because they made it fancy and now everybody's having it. The other day I also, spoke about strawberry gummy. You have that strawberry gummy, it's just having vitamin C and gelatin. You have a strawberry, it has plethora of other nutrients. So, natural is significantly better. You can extract them in a lab and then put them together in a formulation. That is also perfectly fine. But hey, it's coming from a plant-based source. So I really advocate that if you really, it's not very complicated, but if you really put in the right ingredients together and if you put in the right formulation together, it's going to work. Skincare is not magic, and skincare is all about being consistent. Good products and a consistent routine, I think that's about it.
Thanks for your insights, Shivi. You were speaking about fancy gummies and all of those things. One thing that really sort of always intrigues me is celebrities starting their skincare brands. Okay, so you have like Katrina Kaif and Deepika Padukone and Kriti Sanon. I really want to understand. Really would like your opinion on that. Do you think it's just their face that sells? Because the products, whenever I've seen reviews, they're not the greatest. Okay, so everybody is encroaching in this space. It's so much of marketing and how you're portraying things, right? Like you said, I mean, the ingredients are not probably really expensive, but it's their face, it's the marketing. How important is that? And do you also sort of believe in like having your brand endorsed by a celebrity? Are you involved in any of such initiatives? Of course, everybody is now empaneled with social media influencers. I think that is one way to go. But what do we think about celebrity brands and celebrity endorsement? Let's start with probably you, Jaideep.
You guys are making me feel old. Yeah, I think it's again very personal. And like I know certain celebrities who are not into this business, but when I was doing my research and we happened to come across certain people who were connected to these celebrities, they were very passionate about it. Like I remember, at one point in time, Abhay Deol was too much into wellness, and he was looking at introducing his own brand for spas and salons, and he was looking at converting their farmhouse into a spa, full resort spa, and he's always had this very holistic approach, and he spent good enough time years in Pune as well. So he's been that Osho. He's been doing those meditations as well. So I think it's very personal, but yes, I always say it's a product that should speak for itself. A face will, yes, definitely in a population of 140 crores, anybody can survive. You can spend money on ads, whether it's hoarding or whether it's social media, whether it's influencer. All these are different mediums of advertisements. I mean, I don't know how well an influencer would know about the product or the ingredients. Vis-a-vis, yes, you will read through the Google and you will go and talk about it. How well they understand the technology which goes into it. But at the end of the day, all these are different mediums of marketing. But yes, there are also pros about it, where if you want to showcase, this is the easier way of showcasing it. I think it's again personal. It's about passion. We don't know. I think let's wait for some more time to see who sustains, who doesn't sustain, who's just an investor and the brand ambassador, and probably someone else is the brain behind it. We don't know. It's too soon, I feel. And then when you have corporates like Nykaa and Reliance who are now, pushing all these celebrities, they are also brand ambassadors for the e-commerce sites. We don't know the inside story. Who's the investor? Who's the founder? Who's the creator? I think let's give it some more time. It'll be a little naive to talk about it right now. I feel so. I
Sure.
have an
Yeah.
opinion, but I think it'll be too soon to have an opinion over it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What about you, Sarika? What is, I would say, of course, your opinion on this and your social media game? How much do you think it's important to indulge in this, and what is the line that you draw?
Sure. So I was looking at Jaideep because he almost wanted to say something and then he held himself back. Said I have an opinion, but I'm not going to share that. I think there's nothing wrong in the celebrities coming, into the business. I'm sure, they've thought through and decided what industry, what product do they want to back, and where is it that they want to put their face. So nothing wrong in it because everybody today has an opportunity. They have the money, so they may start as an investor and tomorrow become a founder. Can I afford it today? No, I can't. We are a self-funded small startup. We've been getting a lot of investment, pokes, but we've kind of pushed it away, which means that I cannot afford a celebrity today. But does it add to the credibility? I think it does for the larger public because whatever said and done, I can't beat a Deepika Padukone, right? Even though her brand and her product comes from the same place as Jivisa, so it's coming from the exact same place. It is coming from Baddi in Himachal. I'm sure factories are right next to each other.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's looking at her composition just like I'm looking at my composition. But is there a way I can compete? No, I cannot. So she will add, a lot of marketing to her brand, and why not? Fairly so. But I do feel that while influencer marketing had some credibility 5 years back, today the audience is even aware to say that this is a paid marketing campaign. So it, I don't see it really converting to sales anymore or converting to brand building anymore. Because I think, the entire wave that started and, the reason why influencers got so much attention was because we had moved away from celebrities and we had started looking at people next door talking about brands. And there was a certain credibility attached to that. But that itself has also moved away and in the last 2-3 years. And now, the larger audience understands that this is a paid campaign. I personally, we tried a little bit of influencer marketing, whatever we could afford. We did not get fantastic results, and in no time we dropped it to say that no, we're not going that way at all, because we realized that it's not working out. What are we doing? If you look at our social media handles, we actually are only building brand through social media. That's our strategy now. A lot of our business today comes from B2B sales. Our D2C and B2C sales, there's a trickle that comes through, our social media handles, but our campaigns are not very sales focused. Our campaigns are very, very brand focused. We want to tell our stories. We want to tell the stories of the women that we are helping in the mountains and how, we are upskilling them. And if it resonates with somebody, great. If it doesn't, so be it. But we are extensively using social media just to build our brand and not, necessarily sales. We've decided to look at other channels for sales because it's a very, very expensive proposition, like Jaideep said earlier. So if you're just building a brand for investors and numbers, then you can put multiple CRs into marketing, which is not our strategy. So we've decided to stick to only brand building on that side.
Lovely, very interesting. And I think probably it'll give you much more returns in the long run, I feel.
Hopefully.
Most of this marketing will probably wear off,
Yes.
once the campaign dies. What about you, Shivi? How do you perceive the importance of social media and all these, endorsements by influencers and stuff like that?
So yeah, the social media is a very slow and organic group. Want to take it organically. The marketing, it has fizzled out. Yes, people were listening to what the influencers had to say, but suddenly everybody has become an influencer, and now they're pushing too many products at the same time, and they have lost kind of that credibility. So I agree with, they are not converting to sales, but I would not want it any other way but to have an organic growth, because I think what the reason I started this was the intent that was more important as compared to the sales part. And I'm a very small business. I'm completely bootstrapped. So I cannot afford a celebrity right now, but I'm sure like for celebrities, if they have that face and if they have, earned that, kind of, a fan following for all these years. So if they want to put out a brand, the product will talk with time. They will, people will figure out. It's not very easy to kind of fool people now because they see through the marketing gimmicks. They may fall for it once, twice, but if it is not working, they will put their feet down and be like, no, this is not working for me. So now it's not just the face that is going to, maybe yes, but it's too early to say that, if this is a very good trend or if it is not, because, this trend has infiltrated from the West, because, a lot of, West celebs have started their skincare brands. And because, the markets are booming and everybody's seeing that it's $1 billion industry, and, the growth is such and the growth is such. So everybody wants to jump on that. It's like, hopping onto the trend more so as compared to, creating a product. So you can create, as I said, you can create a product. There are so many contract manufacturers. Go to them. You can have your brand the next day. They will tell you if you want an anti-aging cream, but probably the formulas are going to be the same that 10 other brands have. And if they're not working, then eventually, maybe 1 year, 2 years, you will not be able to sustain the market. So I think I would want to go the organic way. And yeah, so
Nice. Both you and Saika have spoken about how it's bootstrapped, and Saika specifically, you said that you're steering away from investors, which leads me to my next question. What is sort of like your 5 or 10 year vision for your brand? Do you want like investors to pour in and then eventually have an IPO or something? Is that what you envision, or you just want it to remain more within your control and the way you want to grow it, the way, like you said, it's about building the brand. Is that your focus? Or do you want, or is scalability something that you're looking at, say, 5, 10 years from now?
So I think scalability is bound to happen, and it should happen if you're a good brand and good products. The reason we've been kind of pushing away investments in the initial period is because I really want to make all my mistakes while we are still small. Get the right products in place. The bouquet of products has to be balanced and right. The processes need to be in place. You need to have your strategy in place and all of that. Plus, we came from a very different background, so it was very important that we become deeper, in the industry that we are now working in. And like I said, we are also building a holistic wellness brand. So I just didn't want to stick to one vertical. The emotional and mental well-being space. We want to get into women health, we want to get into sexual health, we want to get into men's health. So there are multiple other verticals we wanted to add. How do I see it going forward? At some point, I know we will have to take money, but I'd like to do it at the right time, when we as a team are ready, when the brand is ready, to explode after that. But definitely, not right now. And yes, it does mean that you will give away a little bit of your independence, but so be it. If it's for a larger cause. But I think we'll be pushing it away for another 2 years at least.
Okay, lovely. Thanks for that, Saika. What about you, Jaideep? Is both your ventures completely bootstrapped, and how do
Yeah,
you
we
view
are absolutely.
investment? So again, you're also in the same category. You've also stayed away from investment. Is it again because
I get
as a legal person, I know that especially when you have institutionalized investors, they look for a lot of control, not only in terms of your revenue, but say they want to be on your board. They want to be involved in decision making. They want to have veto. So there's stuff like that that one really has to consider.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the reasons. And the other thing is, like Sarika said, that if you're passionate, you want to be you want someone to come at the right time. Though we have made our set of mistakes, honestly speaking. The only thing left is a scalability. But so we are trying to get ourselves absolutely ready for getting investors on board. But what I'm looking at is not someone who just comes, puts in the money and tells us how to run the business, but someone who comes in, adds value. It's going to be more like a joint venture rather than some investor coming on board, putting in the money and just looking at the numbers. So yes, what we are going to be looking at is going to be strategic tie-ups. Like we already have one strategic tie-up in Accra in Ghana. So where it's more like a partner where we are developing the entire range for them. and they have come on board on a different company which is only into 100% exports. So similarly, once we are ready with our D2C space, and we because eventually we are going to be looking at the modern trade, if you ask me, because I think experience plays a very important role when it comes to skincare. The touch, the feel, it still exists, and it will always exist, no matter how big the e-commerce industry goes. But I think the brick and mortar will always play a significant role. And if you ask me, my vision would be that yes, it's retail space is going to grow. It's going to grow as well, barring the e-commerce space. So yes, we will be looking at investors coming on board, more like strategic partners, and we are gearing up for it. Let's see. Keeping our
Lovely.
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want someone who's more invested in just making money
We
out
want
of it.
see, it's a marriage, right?
Yeah.
It's a marriage for the next couple of years. So you got to be absolutely ready, and you got to be very very sure about it. And the reason we took our time is because we are in no hurry. We are in no hurry. So I just want to make sure that someone who comes is equally passionate, if not in terms of the R&D part of whatever it is, business part of it, but at least in terms of having faith in seeing how we guys have our plans ready, and then take it forward from there.
Lovely. What about you, Shivi? What is your vision for your brand?
So
Down
it's too early for me to say that I'm investment, or I think I would create and build this brand and add credibility around it so that people trust it more, and maybe make my share of mistakes, learn from them, and if I'm also in no hurry. I think good things can wait, and till the time I and a brand is not ready for it, I think I would want to keep it as authentic and as key as possible and as organic as possible.
Lovely. So one question that I have for all of you is, you all are at different stages of your entrepreneurial journey, but all in the same industry. What is the biggest challenge that you faced in the industry to make a mark for yourself, or something that you're still sort of struggling with? Maybe Sarika, you can go first.
Sure. I think a lot of people who want to eventually become entrepreneurs, and I go to a lot of colleges in Dehradun and I speak about it. I always tell everybody that the most exciting is the product. You would think that it's the most difficult. Actually, it's the most exciting. Creating a product is the easiest and the most exciting because you put in a lot of passion. The most difficult is selling it, because the consumer has to have trust in you. You have to have credibility. You're a newbie in the market, and why should anybody buy from you? There are Forest Essentials and Kamas available, who are 20 years ahead of us. So why would anybody buy me? So that I think is the biggest hurdle to cross, and that's the most painful and the longest journey. So it takes all your energy, it takes all your resilience to go speak to people, sampling, sending your decks. There's just so much that happens in even converting one customer, whether you're in the D2C space or a B2B space. Even to convert one customer or one client is not easy. That's the most difficult that I feel in this entire journey. So every time there is a conversion organically that happens, I think that's what we celebrate the most in our organization, because we know that yes, somebody's experienced the product and come back to us. In our case, what we've seen is that we almost have a 60-65% return rate on our website. And that is because once they experience it, they do come back. But वो पहला जो उनको experience कराना होता है, वो हमारे लिए बहुत ज़्यादा difficult होता है. And the same applies in our B2B space. To convert a Westin or an Air India or anybody else that you're working in, that is like a 10 months or 1 year cycle. Once that happens, of course, they keep coming back. So at least for us, that has been the most difficult. And in the foreseeable future, I think that will be a constant challenge that we'll continue to work on.
Interesting. So it's getting the product out there. It's easy to make the product, but to convert it and make sure. But it's the more interesting.
Yes,
that's the interesting part, like you said. Yeah, so that's not the challenging part.
It's not the challenging, but people think that to get the right composition is the most challenging. Actually, it's not, because आप इतनी मेहनत करते हो और इतनी exciting होती है, you're looking at it, you saying, no, I will try it, no, I'll retry it. There've been trials and I don't like the smell, I don't like the fragrance, I don't like the packaging. You keep working on it. But जब वो बन गया, तो लेगा कौन? Why would a Shruta buy it from GBSA? So that story is way more challenging, I feel, than the one prior to that. At least that's what we've seen.
Very interesting. What about you, Shivi? What has your biggest challenge been thus far?
Absolutely the same. What people convert them into customers. Retaining is not an issue because when your product is good, retain people kind of come back. But to get to that customers, because the market is flooded, and in the last 3 years, there are so many brands that have come up, in the name of organic and in the natural and in the so much. So this market is already, I won't say it's saturated yet, but yes, it is there. So yes, it is very challenging to reach out to the customers to kind of, tell them to trust the product. Even that one customer, I agree with you because I've done exhibitions, I've done, those, flea markets, and it's absolutely difficult, to kind of convince people to buy from you, because once they do, they will come back or they may want to, but that leap of faith that has to happen, that takes a lot of time because there are so many marketing giants and people are yes, they're aware, but at the same time, if you kind of keep pushing one product to them, they will maybe not buy it once, twice, thrice. So maybe the good time they will pick up the product. And there are so many ads that we say, like even on social media, even on the websites, on YouTubes, we have so much of advertising that is going on with the skincare market, that it's harder to get people to try your product. So I think that is really, creating a product is a very passion driven thing. It's more like, you've created something, but selling is the hardest, like, marketing product. But I would like to add that, still people want to hear the story behind the brand. They still want to know why this is there. Why, how are you different from other things that are available in the market? How are you doing it differently? So, the scope is there, but you need to tell your story in the right way. If and you need to make people feel that they are the center of your, like, what you're doing. They are the center of it. Like, you have to add value to their lives, and maybe that's when they kind of, like, have that trust in a new brand, especially. So
Right. Very nicely said. What about you, Jaydeep? Do you also think this has been your biggest challenge, reaching or
Yeah,
converting?
somewhat. I think the biggest challenge is when you're trying to pitch a product which is priced at 2,000 rupees against a product which says the same ingredients at 500 bucks. That's a challenge. And content is so easily available today that someone who even doesn't understand this subject can just pick it up. And now with the chat GPTs and the world, I mean, I don't know whether it's convenience. I think there are pros and there are cons. So the genuine capability of the product is no more visible. Though the consumer today looks at the label, but how do you know what's been incorporated or whether it says because it's trending? It's a huge gap. And I think it's not going to be easy for a consumer to find out whether it works or it doesn't work, because I doubt if anybody is going to be that loyal of making sure that, they finish a 50-gram cream, which is going to last for at least 2 months, right? So that's the biggest challenge, because considering the certifications and the kind of research and the ingredients we import, we have certain barrier in terms of a costing, which we cannot go beyond, right? So for us to sell a vitamin C serum in 500 bucks is actually not possible. And that's the challenge, to tell the consumer. But then, yes, there are consumers who are aware, who are willing not to compromise with their skin. And I think it's just about finding the right TG and just making sure that you're not just hitting in the dark. You're very certain. And that is something which takes little time. And so I think it's a part of the process. So that's what's challenging for us.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've seen like during one of my travels retinol being sold for like $3 also. And I was like, why should I buy like fancy stuff if I can just get
I'll tell you one thing.
these?
You know, uh, if you're exporting, you're going to have a tough time, especially in the Gulf market. Why? Because more than 20% of the ingredients that are sold on premium in India are banned over there. Okay, if you're using heavy metals, if you're using the bhasms in your skincare products, you're going to be banned from exporting to Canada and US. Canada is the second largest importer for skincare products in India. Okay, if you're making certain claims on your packaging, saying okay, it's going to give you 60% hydration, and you're going to be exporting that to Dubai, it's not going to happen. It's going to come back saying, on what grounds are you making these claims? Whereas over here, as of now, whether someone wants a skin lightening, I will say vitamin C and I will put a kojic acid. Trust me, nobody will know. No lab in the world would know. Not even a private labeling guy whose product I'm manufacturing. So your ethos plays a very important role over here. So my whole idea of putting up my own manufacturing unit here in Pune was one that the QA and QC should remain under our control. Though our unit is in North India, which is a family-run unit, but that's a typical farmer-run unit. I said, no, let's bring this under control. But then you're fighting against the brands who are pumping in millions of bucks on every single day, saying that they are priced at $499. There's a Black Friday sale going on. Guys, just buy it. And you'll see them on LinkedIn saying 3 years, 100 crores. So those are the brands you're fighting against. So then the only way, I think, is that you stop comparing yourself. You choose your battles and you say, you know what, I'm going to keep doing what I believe in. And that's about it. It's a handful of people that you need to buy your products.
Right. Yeah, nice. I think, of course, all three of you have different stories and different journeys, but like I could see such common, values in terms of product being the champion and not too much reliance on social media, holding on investment till you really find the right partner, which really goes on to show how each of you are really more about building the brand than the business, and eventually the business will come. I think we're like running out on time, but before we just sort of wind up, if each one of you could just leave us with like one advice that you would want to give to, say, a budding entrepreneur in this industry, that'd be great. We can start with you, Shivi.
Get your product working, not just, yes, it is a very, very saturated market, but if product is nice, it will eventually, and that's what I am believing in. That's what I am like holding on, because my brand is very nascent. I just started like 2.5, 3 years back. So I'm still building it and I'm still building the credibility around it. So I think if anybody is really passionate, if they don't want to be an entrepreneur only just to say entrepreneur, if they really feel very, deeply about the intent, I think then it's a fantastic, place to be in. Uh, don't expect too much, sales, and you will be disheartened. You'll find yourself on a shaking ground on a daily basis, but lift yourself up and go about the day. I think sure, like, you will find. And we are a huge population. India is a huge population. So even if you find like a couple of, people to, who are happy with what you've done, that is enough motivation to keep you. So that keeps me motivated. So
Lovely. Very nice advice. Believe in your product and don't go after the business so much. Thanks for that, Shivi. What about you, Sarika? What is the one advice that you'd want to give budding entrepreneurs in your industry?
So I think specific to this industry, I would say just spend a lot of time on groundwork. The more groundwork you do before launching the product, the better results you'll find tomorrow. So don't be in a hurry, because people are putting these products on their body, inside their body. So you are actually, it's a huge thing at stake. Skincare has to be taken a little more seriously than a whole lot of other industries. It's not a gadget, it's not something else, it's something that you're applying. So do a lot of groundwork before, before you launch it, so that, post-launch, there's little to be done. There are lesser mistakes to be done, and you don't kind of risk with someone's skin or, anything else. Specific to the industry, I think that would be my advice.
And so that's a really nice advice. There is so much responsibility.
Yeah, be responsible about it.
Yeah. What about you, Jaydeep?
Patience and perseverance. That's about it.
Lovely,
Just
very short and simple.
believe in, keep doing it. And make sure you fall a couple of times. You don't have a plan B. Trust me, don't have a plan B. You have a plan B, plan A will never work out.
Very nice. Patient perseverance and don't have a plan B. Lovely. It was really nice, guys. Nice talking to all of you. Hope you all had a nice time. And thanks for sharing all this knowledge. And hopefully, we'll share it with everyone and people will learn a lot out of this. Thanks. Good
Thank you,
night. Have a good
Shweta.
night.
Thank you.